And with that beautiful rendition of the national anthem by Beyonce, we welcome you atop the press box in center field. Mike Vesci joining you for the season finale, regular season home finale for Post University softball, taking on Georgian Court University. It will be the final home games as the Eagles have officially been eliminated from CACC tournament contention, holding, coming into the day, a record of 2-18 in conference play. But nonetheless, we play on here in hopes of ending the season on a high note for your Eagles. And the Eagles coming into the day, coming off of a weekend sweep, they were swept, I should say, on the road against Goldie Beacom. And let's get the starting lineups for you for the visiting Georgian Court Lions. Leading off, it'll be Kaylin Curo, and then it'll be Cheyenne Jackson, Ella Moore, Reagan Wynn, Brooklyn Ragland, Juliana Kellogg. Number 3, Michaela LaPlaca will go after her. And then Christy Regalato, Leah DeMeo, and on the mound is Janelle Blazka. The Eagles will have their usual lineup that they've had pretty much all season. Well, I shouldn't say all season long. Pretty much down the stretch, the lineup that they've had. As we get things started right now with Curo at the dish. And we're off and running with game one. Alyssa Hughes on the mound for this one for your Eagles. She's had to throw a lot in the last week or two. The Eagles are pretty short-handed when it comes to pitching now this season. Hughes comes into this game with 1 win on the year. She is 1-10 overall with a complete game shutout against Bloomfield, her lone win of the year, and she's thrown over 100 pitches in nearly all of her last 5 starts. I believe if I had my math correct from the last time we checked it, she threw over 600 pitches last week alone. So she'll continue to man the mound as the Eagles are kind of shorthanded on pitching as they lost a couple arms earlier in this year. Caitlin Lipsky went down with an injury early on in the season. And then after that, Megan McGurk has not pitched since then, presumably also due to an injury, but we don't have official confirmation of that. So it's been Alyssa Hughes, Alyssa Calabrese, and Devin Barnett primarily doing the pitching for your Eagles. And with that, the field is set for you, and we're in the midst of Curo's at bat, and she lifts that one into center field. Coming on to grab that is Isabella Oliver for out number 1. Curo is retired, bringing Jackson to the plate, the shortstop. From left to right on the infield, it's Sapia, Brooke Dickinson at short, Angelica Tompkins at second, and Alexandra Biseglia at first. In the outfield, in right. We're facing opposite of where the mound is, or we're in the outfield, so it's all opposite. In right field, it's Alyssa Calabrese. In center field, Isabella Oliver. And in left field, it's Hannah Searles. Behind the dish, doing the catching, it's Brianna Hines. And designated player is cleanup hitter Bailey Dickinson, where she pretty much has been all year. Jackson has a 1-1 count right now. Very windy day, it's cold. Unfortunately, all our softball game days have been this way, whereas all the lacrosse games down the stretch and baseball games have been beautiful. It was 85 degrees and sunny on Saturday for the doubleheader for baseball against Bloomfield and women's lacrosse's home game. And today it is 55, 56 and windy here at Lemoy Field. Always some wind here when you're playing at Lemoy Field. Jackson comes into this game batting .376, 101 at-bats across 34 games, 3 home runs, 19 RBIs. Third most RBIs on the team. He leads the team in home runs with those 3. Georgian Court as a team just has 4. Post offensively only has 2. They also have 4. Down the stretch, they've hit all those. Now, Sapia had her first this year. Alyssa Calabrese with her first collegiate home run, and Bailey Dickinson with a pair a couple of weeks ago. 2-2 count to Jackson, 1 out after the fly out from Curo to center field. As Hughes gets ready and deals. That one's low and in the dirt for ball 3, and the count moves to 3-2. On deck will be Moore. Moore is the third best hitter. In fact, looking at their top 3 hitters in terms of average, it goes right down 1, 2, 3 in the lineup. Curo hitting .417, who they just got out with 7 triples and 6 doubles coming into the game before she just went 0 for in her first at bat. That one, I believe, glanced off of Jackson, so she'll take first. And the first base runner on for Georgian Courts. Eagles had a tough set of games last week. They went 1-7 overall during that stretch of games. One win against AIC, 9-5. They lost the other ones on the road to AIC, 7-6, 14-8 to Felician. And then they went on a little bit of a skid in terms of being unable to score a run as Jackson's off and running on the pitch. She is in there safe. That'll be stolen base number 9 on the season for Cheyenne Jackson. And the Georgian Court, just like that, is a runner in scoring position with 1 out in their cleanup hitter on deck. Like I was mentioning, though, a stretch of 3 games with shutout losses, the Eagles against Felician and Jefferson, and then they went on the road against Goldie Beacom and were swept in those games. They have been run ruled in the last 5 games. That one's lined foul. "22 times this year the Eagles have been run ruled. They've lost, like I mentioned, 34 games so far this year. Coming into this game, they're on a 6-game losing streak, so looking to snap that today. As this is the final week of the regular season, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, they have been eliminated as that one's popped up on the infield. Tompkins grabs it, and there are 2 away. That'll bring Reagan Wynn to the plate. Wynn batting .289 on the year with 12 RBIs, 7 extra base hits, 13 runs scored. Georgian Court team coming into the day had 19 stolen bases out of 30 attempts. Make that 20 stolen bases and 31 after Jackson swiped second after walking, or excuse me, got hit by a pitch. The first pitch is high from Hughes for a ball, 1-0. Eagles got a pair of wins at home against Bloomfield. They're only 2 wins. They're 2-14 at home, 1-11 on the road, and 1-9 in neutral play. Those 2 wins at home also coincided with their only 2 conference wins of the season against that Bloomfield team, who is winless still on the campaign. Georgian Court comes into this one at 12-22, 7-9 in conference play. As this is the final week of softball in and around the CACC. Lions looking to build off that 1-game winning streak they have after they split against Dominican. Game 2, they won 7-0. Part of snapping a 4-game losing streak prior to that. As we're winding down the stretch here, these are a pair of big games for the Lions in terms of playoff hopes. That one's on the ground, foul. Bridgeport, Wilmington, and Goldie Beacom have all clinched their spots in the CACC tournament. Caldwell sits in 4th at 11-7. Jefferson at 10-8 in 5th. Holy Family 11-9 down in 6th. Dominican at 10-10 in 7th. Felician currently holds the 8th and final spot at 9-11. However, obviously they have played 4 more games than Georgian Court has, who is 7-9. Everybody else has been eliminated from contention. As that pitch goes wild, and advancing over to third is Jackson. So runner on third now with 2 men down. So as it stands, we're looking at it. Felician, no more conference games left. These are the final 2 games of the, excuse me, I shouldn't say that. Post has 2 more conference games left, as does Felician. Felician will take on Wilmington this week as their final set of games. This is the final set of, no, excuse me, my apologies again. Georgian Court listed with only 16 conference games played coming into today. They have a number of games this week against Post, Bloomfield, and Caldwell to see what they can do. So Felician, obviously, with a couple of games already under their belt, with only 2 more remaining in conference play. Georgian Court currently has the leg up in terms of getting in to the CACC tournament if they can win down the stretch. Popped up, and that's in foul territory. But secondly, over to make the catch, and the side is retired. So no men come across. Jackson gets on via hit by pitch and advances to third, but Wynn not able to drive her home. We head to the bottom of the first. Calabrese coming to bat to lead things off for the Eagles. We're tied here at 0 from Lemoy Field in game number 1. We're back here at Lemoyne Field for the bottom of the first. Janelle Blaska on the mound for Georgian Court, coming into the game with an 8-8 record, 4.78 ERA in 20 appearances, 16 starts. She's had 9 complete games and a shutout. Has allowed 77 runs, 61 of which have been earned, a 53-50 strikeout to walk ratio. She's hit 16 batters as well and has 5 wild pitches on the year and has allowed opponents to hit at a 297 clip, the lowest on the team amongst the 3 pitchers for the Lions. Allowed just 7 home runs all year. The Georgian Court pitching as a whole has allowed 21, and she will face Alyssa Calabrese to lead things off here in the bottom of the first. Calabrese, second best on the team in batting average at 273, has 1 home run and 8 RBIs, 7 walks in the year and 27 strikeouts. A post team that has struck out 204 times on the season to just 95 walks. And as a team are hitting at just 222 on the year. Eagles pitching has been at a 10.19 with opponents at a 2.221 coming into today's game. Calabrese took the first 2 pitches outside for ball, quickly ahead in the count 2-0. Calabrese, like we mentioned, a few injuries have led to her being on the mound a couple times this year. She's 3-3 in 8 appearances, 4.82 ERA, and she had a shutout of Southern Connecticut State University down in Florida, gave the Eagles their first win of the year. A 2-0 one-hitter in her first start since she started nearly a year ago, at the beginning of the year before she went to primarily the outfield. And she's been pretty much the leading hitter all year for the Eagles until down the stretch Sapia has started to turn it on. Bailey Dickinson leads the team offensively with 16 RBIs, hitting .258. She'll bat 4th in this lineup. Brianna Hines on deck. Nyla Sapia batting 3rd. Bailey Dickinson, Angelica Tompkins, Alexandra Biseglia, Brooke Dickinson, Hannah Searles, and Isabella Oliver are your lineup for post. In the field, Kaylin Curo is playing second. Cheyenne Jackson at short. Aaron Moore will do the services in Ella Moore will do the services in left field. Reagan Wynn will be at first base as Calabrese is struck out swinging and brings Brianna Hines to the plate. Brooklyn Ragland, designated player. Juliana Kellogg at third base. Michaela LaPlaca at catcher. In right field, it's Christy Rigolato. And it's going to be Leah DeMeo in center field. And then Blaska obviously on the mound, like we mentioned before. As count moves to 1-1 on Bree Hines. Hines has been the only catcher for post so far this year behind the plate, as the other catcher in Kelsey Richardson is out for the season due to injury. So Hines has done the catching duties for all 5 of the post pitchers that have come in so far this year. As she swings and misses at that one, count evens up at 2-2. Hines on the year, 163 batting average, 14 hits and 86 at-bats, 5 RBIs and a triple. She's walked 8 times and struck out 14, and that's going to be over the plate for strike 3. A little bit of an announcer's jinx right there by accident, as that's strikeout number 15 for her on the season, sending Sapia, the third baseman, to the plate. As for Blaska, that was her 55th strikeout as she struck out the first 2 batters of this inning, moving that ratio up to 55-50. As Sapia takes ball 1 high, 1-0. Sapia coming into the game, 286 batting average with 28 hits, 1 home run, 9 RBIs, and 5 doubles. She's walked 14 times on the year, struck out 20. As counts even at 1-1. Post offensively, not really stealing too many bases this year. 9 of 12 in stealing situations, and their opponents coming into the day, 91 stolen bases on 97 attempts, all of which have been against Brianna Hines, who, like I mentioned, has been doing the primary duties behind the plate all season long. 5 post hitters above a 200 average who are in the regularly in the lineup. Caitlin Lipsky, who again only played 10 games before her injury at 292. Leah Marrero in limited at-bats at 222. And then a trio of players who, well, Devin Barnett was a pinch runner at one point and scored earlier this year. But otherwise, the rest of the Eagles at zeros for batting average because they either have not pitched or have not hit in the field or have just primarily been pitchers. 2-2 count after that foul off by Sapia. Blaska looking to get out of the inning with a 1-2-3 first, sending us to a game. It's the second inning scoreless. Low and in the dirt for ball 4, and Sapia will take her base. So just like the Lions in the top of the first, runner on for the Eagles in the bottom of the first, and Bailey Dickinson, the cleanup hitter, coming to the plate, who made a note to me last night to say, Mike, make sure your announcers know that her walk-up song is the Undertaker theme, not Metallica. So to make sure we get that right, it is not Metallica, it is the Undertaker's theme song. I told her, Bailey, I'm on play-by-play today. I'll make sure the people know. You can't hear it out here in center field, but we wanted to make sure we made note of it. 2-0 count, and not to mention Dickinson, one of the 5 seniors that this will be their last pair of home games here at Lemoyne Field before they graduate. Dickinson, her sister Brooke Dickinson, Brianna Hines, Alyssa Hughes, and then Caitlin Lipsky may be back next year. We're not 100% sure, but if not, all 5 of them are playing in their final games here at Lemoyne Field this afternoon against Georgian Court. Dickinson ahead of the count 2-1 as Blaska throws that one over the plate, and the count moves to 2-2. Dickinson with 2 home runs on the year. Her first one came against Dominican, and that was her first home run since her freshman year. Again, team leading 16 RBI. She's been in a little bit of a slump lately at the plate. And ironically enough, it started around the Bloomfield College doubleheader where her sister Brooke Dickinson, who came into that series, had just 1 RBI. Since then, Brooke has had 9 RBIs on the season since that stretch, since the Bloomfield game. A little bit of a reversal from Bailey Dickinson's hot start. Now Brooke Dickinson, her sister, has picked it up down the stretch, and the roles have been a little reversed at the dish towards the latter half of the season. But Dickinson mentioned before the game, too, she's looking to get her stride back in these last few games of her collegiate career, as it's a 2-2 count right now to Dickinson with 2 outs and a runner on first as she fouls off another one out of play, and will do it all again with a 2-2 count as they narrowly missed the car, or might have hit the top of it. That'll probably leave a dent there. 2-2 count, 2 outs, runner on first in Sapia after she walked. Blaska comes home with the pitch. That one's hit out towards us in right field. Coming on to make the catch is Rigolato, and the side is retired. So 1 runner gets on for post on the walk to Sapia. No one comes across. We're tied up at 2. We're tied up at 0, heading to the second here at Lemoyne Field. Top of the second, Ragland, Kellogg, and LaPlaca coming to the dish for the Lions. Tied up at 0 all here in the second frame. And we were talking about a little bit in the top of the first, how these are a pair of big games for the Lions. They have 6 games heading to the day remaining on their conference schedule. Felician has 2. Post is out of the mix. But right now, Georgian Court on the outside looking in 9th place at 7-9. But Felician has 4 games in hand on them. And as a result of that, are at 9-11, this would tie them in the win column, as Ragland got on with a line drive single up the middle on the first pitch against Hughes, and that'll bring Kellogg to the dish with a runner on. So if Georgian Court can sweep today, they'll be tied in the win column with Felician at 9-9, making it that that Golden Falcons essentially need to win those last 2 games to have some breathing room and then play the waiting game to see what happens with Georgian court down the stretch. The two teams obviously played each other this year as well. That one's popped up behind the plate, and Hines makes the catch for out number one. The two teams played each other earlier this year, and they split the doubleheader. So then the tiebreakers become a little more nuanced in terms of you have to look up the standings to figure out if you get in via tiebreaker based on the opponents ahead of you and in terms of your record against those opponents. So it would come down to how well Georgian Court did against Dominican all the way up to Bridgeport and how Georgian Court did against all those teams as well, since they split the season series. However, there's still lots of softball to be played before that's figured out, as that pitch is fouled off by LaPlaca. It's the final week for most of the CACC spring sports, minus baseball, who has one more week to go. Softball, women's and men's lacrosse all concluding their regular season schedules this week, and then they will go into the playoffs starting early next week, depending on the day. Depends on what sport will get underway. For post softball and women's lacrosse, they will see their seasons come to a close on Wednesday. Men's lacrosse has their final game of the season on Wednesday against Chestnut Hill College. Winner of that one will take the 3 seed. So whoever gets the 3 seed does not have to play a first round game on Monday. If the Eagles lose that game, they will host a game on Monday here at Lemoy Field. Likely, I would have to guess around 2 o'clock. That's usually when the lacrosse games have been throughout the year due to darkness and stuff like that, because there are no lights at the facilities yet. But they have that to look forward to against Chestnut Hill first, as that one's fouled off by LaPlaca, and the count remains 2-2. The men's team won this past week 19-7 against Felician to lock up a playoff spot. And now they're just playing for seeding at this point, and it makes a big difference in terms of if they'll have to play 2 or 3 on their quest to get what would be the first automatic qualifier in CACC history for men's lacrosse, as this is the first year Division II has instituted an automatic qualifier for lacrosse. As for softball, their season, like I mentioned, will come to a close with the record they're currently sitting at. But the first round of softball tournament gets underway next week at the host sites of the top 4 seeds, as LaPlaca draws a walk, and that'll bring Regalado to the plate with 2 on and 1 out here in the top of the second. Hughes coming into the day had a 9.20 ERA, 11 appearances, 10 complete games, most on the team. 75 1/3 innings pitched, 23 strikeouts to 32 walks. She has the second most strikeouts of the team behind Caitlin Lipsky, who had 29 in 6 appearances. As a team, the Eagles just 76 strikeouts, 124 walks. Eagles pitching, like I mentioned, 10.19 ERA on the year combined. They've had 24 complete games across the 38 games they've played, and 104 doubles allowed, 22 triples, and 24 home runs in total. Hughes delivers. That one's hit to center field by Regalado, and coming on to grab it is Oliver. She retires her for the second out, and DeMeo, rounding out the first 9 for the Lions, will come to the dish, playing in center field. Softball, again, not the only team that was in action last week with 8 games in 4 days. I can mention men's lacrosse had their lone game against Felician, 19-7 winners. Leighton Cook in that one, 3 goals, 7 assists. Nearly tied the program record for most assists in a single game. Women's lacrosse nearly had their first win. Entered the 4th quarter trailing, was able to come back and tie it up, but 2 goals at the end of that one would end up sinking them against St. Thomas Aquinas Colleges. They'll have their last home game of the year against Dominican, their final game of the season on Wednesday here at Lemoy Field. Griffin Cass will have that one for you. And baseball, the other team playing at home this weekend against Dominican, currently scheduled for Saturday. Matt Scalza will have that call for you. And then next Tuesday, we'll round it out for, Max Stapleton will have that call for you. And then Matt Scalza will round out the regular season for baseball against Lincoln next Tuesday. And that's off to the playoffs, as baseball is currently vying for a top 2 spot. If they can get one of those top 2 spots, they will get to host a 3-game series next weekend at Municipal Stadium. 2 games on Friday, 1 the deciding game if they need to play on Saturday. But the Eagles still vying for a spot. That one's chopped on the ground by DeMeo, and Hines is going to smartly hold on to that one because hustling down the line was DeMeo. She didn't really have a play there, didn't have a play anywhere, and you don't want to accidentally overthrow and allow a run to score. So instead, the bases will be loaded for Curo at the top of the lineup, who flew out in her first at-bat just an inning ago. Eagles were able to get out of that jam in the last inning, and now the bases are loaded with 2 outs for the top of the lineup. Like I mentioned, the top few hitters for the Lions, their 3 best. Curo included in that at 417 before her last at-bat. She's now got 116 at-bats on the year for 48 hits. Scored 32 times, 20 RBIs. Like I mentioned, those 7 triples and 6 doubles. A triple here would clear the bases and give the Lions a 3-run lead. Double could do the same, so her 14th extra base hit could prove critical to the Lions in the early going of this one. She's ahead in the count 2-0, so he was quickly behind. Sapia shading in at third. Sega a little bit in front of first. Tompkins playing a little deeper. Curo fouls that one off. Count moves to 2-1. Like I mentioned, a little bit of a wind. There's always a wind here at Lemoy Field, but wind and a little chillier than normal. About a 30-degree difference between face-off for women's lacrosse the other day and softball here, where first pitch temperature was hovering around 55. Our first face-off temperature was hovering around 85 just a couple days ago. But it'll warm back up tomorrow and the rest of the week into the low 70s, high 60s. As spring is just around the corner, as we're rounding out athletics here at Post for the year. As that was lined in the center field, coming on to grab it is Oliver, and the side is retired. So Hughes is able to work out of a little bit of a jam with 1 out and a runner on, and with the bases loaded, gets a little bit of help from her center fielder and Isabella Oliver. We head to the bottom of the second. No score here from Lemoy. Back here for the bottom of the second, no score. Post no hits so far. Georgian court with 2. They just left the bases loaded with 2 outs as Isabella Oliver with a nice sliding catch on Kaylin Curo's ball to center field. Angelica Tompkins will lead it off. Then Alexandra Biseglia and Brooke Dickinson. Your 3 for this half inning as the Eagles look to get the offense going. They got a runner on last inning with 2 outs in Sapia. As the first pitch from Bliska is high for a ball, 1-0. Pitches in the first strike, moves to 1-1. Tompkins comes into the game with a .231 batting average, 21 hits, 91 at-bats, 10 runs, scored 8 RBIs, and 6 extra base hits, including 2 triples. The freshman also played briefly on the women's basketball team this season. So a couple dual sports athletes on this team. As Isabella Oliver also played for the women's volleyball program in the fall. And funny enough, we got to talk to her and the preseason for softball, and she talked about how she had that one appearance during the volleyball season where she foot faulted, resulting in another point for the other team as Tompkins goes down swinging. More on that later as Biseglia comes to the dish. Another freshman hitting .231. This is a young Eagles team, which is important to note because, you know, you look at their record from last year to this year, and they did lose 8 players that graduated, seniors and grad students. And coming into the year, pretty much revamped squad other than the few seniors who were coming back and a couple of sophomores that they had. And so you have quite a few freshmen just in this lineup alone as Biseglia pops that one up on the infield for out number 2. And she's retired by Curo. And now Brooke Dickinson coming to the plate. Dickinson had the first known triple play. We don't have any stats on it or record book to check. So we're presuming it's the first triple play in program history at Goldie Beacom over the weekend, and it made ESPN's top 10 plays, coming in at number 9 on Saturday. And another big shout out to the folks down at Goldie Beacom who did the broadcast for that game for being able to capture that. So a little bit of history for Dickinson. It was the first time Post has been featured on there, as well as, like I mentioned, potentially the first triple play in program history. Again, can't double check that because we don't have a stat to see it, but Dickinson and Biseglia hooked up for what was a 6-3 triple play. Dickinson grabbed the line drive, stepped on second, and threw over to Biseglia at first to double up the runner at second and first in a matter of seconds. In fact, funny enough, we didn't see it because we were doing baseball, and Brooke actually texted us and said, "Mike, did you see the triple play I got?" And I said, "What triple play?" And then quickly when we realized what had happened, we sent it over to ESPN and got things moving within the hour of being notified of it, as there was a lot going on our Friday and Saturday with all this going on as Dickinson strikes out swinging, and the side is retired. So 1-2-3 go the Eagles. We head to the top of the third. We're still scoreless. Jackson Moore and Wynn coming to the plate for the Lions in the top of the third. Top of the third, Cheyenne Jackson strolling to the plate, got hit by a pitch in her first at-bat. The shortstop stepping against Alyssa Hughes, who got out of a big bases-loaded 2-out jam in the last half inning that she pitched. And the Eagles went down 1-2-3. Tompkins, Biseglia, and Dickinson. Brooke Dickinson. I like to make sure I clarify when we've got multiple people with the same last name in the lineup. That first pitch is swung on and missed for a strike. 0-1 the count to Jackson. Jackson got hit on a 3-2 count in her first at-bat. The Lions already with 2 hits, and both those, I believe, came in the last inning. They did. A couple of singles. Jackson on the ground is short. Dickinson makes the play and throws over to first for out number 1. So a quick 6-3 putout for the shortstop, and connection that I was just talking about in the last half inning. If you're just joining us, with Dickinson landing on the top 10 plays over the weekend for her triple play, gets the out there for out number 1 here in the top of the third, sending Ella Moore to the plate, who's 0 for 1 on the day. It was the bottom of the lineup that did damage, which I shouldn't say did damage since it's still 0-0, but got on primarily for the Lions in their first go-round. The top 3 hitters, who I mentioned have the top 3 batting average, have all been retired so far by Hughes. They are a combined 0 for 5 now, 0 for 4 with a hit by pitch so far on the day, as count moves to 1-1. He fires. That one's lined into right field. Foul. And because of where we're set up, we are actually in the outfield in right field. So pinch hitting changes, pinch runner changes can be a little bit difficult to see. We've got the live stats pulled up, although the computer is kind of overheating a little bit at the moment. So it may freeze at any moment. So if I go silent and don't know what I'm talking about, that's probably why, because the stats went away for me on my screen. That one's lined into left field. Foul. So we can't even see the scoreboard to check the count. We have to rely on the umpire's fingers if we can see them or looking at the live stats to see as the count's now 1-2. It's a little bit of an interesting dynamic, but it allows us to give you the best possible broadcast coverage from every angle of the field here at Lemoy on the brand new turf that got installed this past summer. Post played on a dirt field primarily for the last 20, 30 years or so that the program's been around, and the entire field, including the soccer field, which was already turf, was replaced, but this time the softball field got an uplift as well. It is entirely turf now as well. Pitch is outside, and count moves to 2-2. It allows for teams to be able to play, too, a lot better in the rain, especially with a dirt field. You'd have to tarp. You don't need to tarp now with a turf field, and unless it's pouring rain, you can pretty much get the games in if it's a light sprinkle, whereas if it's not, your field gets wet pretty quickly out here, especially with the wind and everything. It makes for a very miserable experience when you're out here, nonetheless, but a decent day compared to what we had last year for a lot of these spring games. It's been pretty good for most of the game days. Last year, a lot of rain and a lot of wind and temperatures in the 40s at times. We've had a few cold weather games across the board for spring sports, which is what you're going to get here in New England. That one's lined into center field, and Oliver going back on it actually was a little bit closer to the field than I thought it was going to be, and they took both Searles and Oliver decided to backtrack on it, and as a result, Moore is going to be on with a double with one out here in the top of the third, which sends the cleanup hitter Reagan Moore to the plate with a chance at an RBI. Not sure if they were just shaded too deep. Wasn't really looking at the outfield too well, but Oliver playing a little bit back as we're in the heart of the lineup now for the Lions. First pitch is high for a ball, 1-0. That one's on the ground to Dickinson at short. A nice backhanded play, fires over to first, and she's got the out. Brooke Dickinson, the last couple of games, has really been a star over there in the shortstop hole to help these Eagles get some outs, and she gets another one there. A fantastic backhanded play deep in the hole, and she's able to get the out at first. Runner advances to third. Moore at third, Ragland to the dish. She's 1 for 1 on the day, and that pitch is outside for a ball, 1-0. Hughes looking to get out of another jam with runners in scoring position. Again, like I mentioned, got out of bases loaded with 2 outs in the last half inning. 1-0. Hit in the air to center field. Oliver trailing back on it, makes the grab, and the side is retired. So a double goes by the wayside for the Lions. We're still tied at 0. We head to the bottom of the third. Bottom of the third, Blaska has had a perfect 2 innings so far. No hits, 4 post. As they will send Hannah Searles, Isabella Oliver, and Alyssa Calabrese to the plate. The only runner reached so far, Nyla Sappi on a walk. As, like I mentioned, the Eagles' offense has struggled at times this year. I mean, they had those 3 straight shutouts just a few days ago. Opponents so far this year have shut them out 13 times. Eagles have had 2 shutouts of their own, Calabrese and Hughes, the Alyssa duo, as I call them, that's spelled just slightly different. Alyssa Calabrese spelled with 2 L's and 1 S. Alyssa Hughes spelled with 1 L and 2 S's. First pitch is in there for a strike, 0-1. Searles coming into the game, hitting 182 in 66 ABs, 12 hits, 2 doubles, and 9 RBIs. Stolen a base on the year and has had 8 walks. That pitch is outside for a ball, and count moves to 1-2. So the Lions have threatened in the first 3 innings. Nothing, though, coming across for them. The Eagles trying to get something going and threaten as that swung on a miss for strike 3, and Searles is retired. For Blaska, that is her 5th strikeout of the game so far with 1 walk. Otherwise, nothing really doing for the Eagles offensively. With Isabella Oliver coming to the plate. Started the year mostly in the leadoff spot, but has since moved down into the 9-hole. Like I mentioned, Oliver played volleyball this fall, and she talked about her 1 appearance that she made. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was against Caldwell. The Eagles were leading by, I believe it was 13 or 14 points in that match. She came in and foot faulted. And I remember she told us during media day, I don't really know what happened there. It was a foot fault, though, and that's all I know. But I had fun playing with the team all year. In fact, Oliver told us preseason as well, she originally wasn't coming to Post. She was actually going to be playing basketball at WestCon. And in a last-second move, decided to come and play softball and volleyball here at Post University just weeks before the season got underway. And she's, again, made her mark here with the team. 228 so far in her first season, 23 hits, 4 RBIs, 5 extra base hits. She had a couple of big games early on in the season. That one's fouled off. And count remains 2-2. Oliver has 9 walks this year, struck out 28 times, and was thrown out the 1 time she tried to steal. And I need to stop mentioning strikeouts with 2 strikes, as that's 29 strikeouts for Oliver at the dish now. Every time I seem to mention it, I do it with 2 strikes and they strike out. So we're going to stop doing that. As we go to the top of the lineup, Alyssa Calabrese with 2 outs and nobody on. Can I get a reverse jinx and say that Blaska has allowed no hits so far in this game? Calabrese with the first pitch. It's outside for a ball, 1-0. Sun coming in and out from time to time, and it feels much better out here when the sun is out, but still not too bad of a day compared to what we had earlier in the year. Blaska quickly behind 2-0 in the count. And now Calabrese pops that one up into foul territory, and the first baseman over there in Wynn makes the grab. Side retired. 1-2-3 go the Eagles. We are tied at 0 heading into the 4th inning. Lions coming to bat when we return. Back here in the top of the 4th. Getting my bearings on who's up because my computer fried itself. Ragland coming up. No, excuse me. Kellogg, LaPlaca, and Regalado coming to the plate. The 3 upcoming hitters 0 for 2 combined with a walk so far on the day. As Hughes escapes a couple of jams the last 2 innings. As that one's hit foul. Ryan Mosher with the catch. Ryan Mosher's manning the camera on the third base side, and on the fly while holding the camera on the tripod, was able to make the one-handed grab. That's the first time a ball's gone over there. We, in fact, put the camera over there expecting nobody to have to worry about foul balls. But Ryan Mosher, the men's ice hockey player on camera for us today, just made the grab out there in foul territory. Next up, I guess Angelo on the outfield camera is going to have to catch a home run ball if we get one out here. Fingers crossed I don't do an announcer's jinx on that. We have not had a ball come up to the landing on the fly on a home run, as that one's lined into left field. Searles makes the catch. Didn't even have to move, and there's the first out of the inning. One of the home runs here at Lemoyne did come just in front of the landing earlier this year, and one last year from Lily Tomasello went just to our left. But nothing has come up here yet, and of course, now that I've said that, it'll probably happen at some point today, and I'll probably go silent because I'll be ducking. Hughes steps in, and that one's hit in the air to left field. Searles tailing back on it, makes the grab, so 2 quick outs for Hughes. As she retires Kellogg and LaPlaca, and now bring Regalado to the plate. 0 for 1 on the day. I believe that was 3 pitches so far that Hughes has thrown in this inning. We don't have a pitch tracker on our screen, but I believe that was 3 pitches so far in the frame. Make that 4 at the very least for a ball, 1-0. Hughes set, fires, and that's in the dirt or in the turf. 2-0. DeMeo waits on deck. She's 1 for 1. Moore with the only extra base hit between the two teams so far. Hughes coming into the at-bat had 62 pitches. Blaska, despite blazing through the first 3 innings, has 52 pitches, 30 of them for strikes. The Eagles have been working the count, just have not been able to work the bats to get on base. 2-1 count coming. Line drive, foul. Again, because we're in the outfield, a little hard to tell. It looked like it was going fair for a second, but the count will be 2-2 now for Searles. For Regalado. Searles was over there to retrieve that ball in left field. Due to in the dirt, short hop the plate. Like I mentioned, Hughes coming into the day had thrown nearly 700 pitches last week. And yes, the recovery time in softball is a lot shorter because of the natural underhand motion. However, 700 pitches in 4 days, and excuse me, I should say across 6 days, because she pitched 4 straight days, but also pitched 2 days before that against Holy Family. And that one's lined into the gap up the middle. It's a base hit. Oliver unable to cut it off. Rolling in the second will be Regalado with a double. DeMeo will come to the dish now. And yet again, I do an announcer's jinx by saying there's only been 1 extra base hit. And now that's the second of the day for the Lions. As for the 4th straight inning, they have a runner in scoring position with 2 out. DeMeo, who had a single on the infield in her first go-around, steps in before he was able to retire Kiro. Hughes has escaped a runner on third with 2 outs. Bases loaded with 2 outs. And we'll now try and do it again with a runner on second. Pitches outside for a ball. DeMeo doing a good job of crowding the plate, forcing Hughes to go to that outside corner, which she's not locating as of right now on those first 2 pitches. So at least it looks like she's crowding the plate from my angle. Hughes fires. And it's outside again. Kuro seems to be stepping towards the box. I think more of a slap hitter there for the Lions. The count quickly 3-0. Hughes has 2 open bases to work with to try and get out of this. Pitch is in there for a strike, 3-1. Taking all the way there was DeMayo as Hughes located those 3 pitches on the outside of the other batter's box for a ball. That one's lined up the middle. That's going to be a base hit. Oliver tries to cut it off. That should just go down as a straight double or triple as DeMayo is going to roll into third standing up. It's an RBI triple for DeMayo, and the Lions take a 1-0 lead. Top of the lineup, which has Hughes has had their number so far. Kuro 0 for 2, flew out twice to Oliver in center field as that one's in there for a strike. So Georgian Court finally breaks through with 2 outs with the RBI triple from DeMayo. And they're looking for more. Bunted on the ground, goes foul, count quickly 0-2, so Hughes ahead in the count. That's big here as, unless Kuro wants to risk it on an 0-2 count, she'd be called out if it goes foul. Hughes sets and fires, and that one's lined to Sapia at third, and side is retired. But not before a run comes across on the RBI triple by Leah DeMayo. Georgian Court 1-0 heading into the bottom of the 4th. Brianna Hines coming to the plate. It'll be the 2, 3, and 4 hitters coming up for post. They trail 1-0 after the Leah DeMayo RBI triple with 2 outs in the top of the 4th. First time Georgian Court was able to break through with 2 outs and get a run across. The Eagles coming into this half inning searching for their first hit of the day. Currently the only base runner to reach is Sapio with the walk that she had in the first. The rest of the Eagles are 0 for 1, or in Calabrese's case, 0 for 2, as she finished off the last go-round for post. It's 1-1 count to her. Blazka so far with 6 strikeouts. That one's hit in the air. It's going to be on the infield, and grabbing that in fair territory will be Wynn for out number 1, sending Sapia to the dish. Like I mentioned, she walked in her first at-bat. Both teams had a first inning walk, and I believe since then, we have not had a walk since for either side. Pitch is high for a ball, 1-0. Sun once again making an appearance, briefly, as there's cloud cover all around us. That one's in there for a strike, 1-1. Sapia transferred in from St. Thomas Aquinas College, where she played 2 years. His count moves to 1-2. like I mentioned, started to get the bat going in the latter half of the season. She struggled at the plate and struggled in the field early on, but has really turned it on as the year has gone on. In fact, the entire Eagles defense has, as that pitch is high for a ball, 2-2. The Eagles defense early on in the year, lots and lots of errors committed, but down the stretch they've started to piece it together. Had a little bit of a rough patch last week on the road, but have since then started to clean it up. Only 71 errors on the year, which sounds like, I say only, even though it sounds like a lot. The reason I say 71 is because a lot of them were early on in the season. Sapia is going to pop it up to third and making the basket catches Kellogg for out number 2, bringing the cleanup hitter in Bailey Dickinson to the plate, who is 0 for 1 on the day. So still, Sapia the only batter to reach base for the Eagles on a walk from Blaska, who currently has a no-hitter in the bottom of the 4th. Yes, I'm trying to do a reverse jinx there, as the Eagles offense tries to get going, and Dickinson's going to line that one to the center field in a nice play. Oh, man, what a nice basket grab over there from Curo. The second baseman goes out there, it pops out of her glove, and she underhands catches it for the final out. So Dickinson robbed, looks like, of a base hit, as Curo went a long way to get that. Side retired, 1-2-3. We head to the top of the 5th inning. 1-0 Lions here on the CACC Network. Cheyenne Jackson to the plate, 0 for 1 on the day. Was hit by a pitch in her first at-bat before being retired the second go-through. And she'll see what she can do in her third time around as she swings first pitch, popped in the air. Going back to grab it is Dickinson. Nope, she's going to be called off by Searles, the left fielder. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the top of the 5th. A quick-moving game. We got started a little after 2 o'clock because things were running a little bit behind with starting lineups and everything, and then we had our 2-minute national anthem, which has become a staple for the final home games of the year. So we're just passing the 3 o'clock hour, and we're in the top of the 5th inning. So this game motoring right along as it's kind of become a pitcher's duel between Hughes and Blazka. First pitch was outside for a ball, 1-0, and now that one in there for a strike, 1-1 to Ella Moore, who has one of the 2 doubles on the day. Again, I mentioned last half inning, there was only 1 extra base hit, and then no sooner do I say that, Regalado and DeMeo, double and a triple, helped give their team a 1-0 lead. Two 2-1 count coming outside for ball 3-1. The Lions led this year by Michaela Porby, who at time of checking everything was listed as the interim head coach for this Lions squad. Head coach for post Julie Meyer in her Julie Meyer Jones, in her 4th season with the team, as that's a 5-pitch walk after the 1 strike issued by Hughes. Moore is on. The cleanup hitter Wynn, who is 0 for 2 on the day, comes to the plate. Looking at the stats, too, 6 runners left on base so far for the Lions, 4 of which have been attributed to Kaylin Curo because of that bases loaded situation. And then last half inning as well. First pitch is going to be called a strike. It was in the dirt because Wynn offered at it, trying to bunt Moore over to second. We'll see if they send him. Like I mentioned, coming to the day, the opponents have had 91 stolen bases, 92 with that first inning stolen base, in 97 attempts. Another offered at it, and Hughes' first 2 pitches have been nowhere close to the zone, and both times Wynn did not pull back, and as a result, she's behind in the count 0-2 and is going to have to swing away here. I don't know if Hughes was intentionally throwing her low, but if so, it worked out well because Wynn did not pull back, and now Wynn's going to have to swing away. And that pitch is off the outside of the plate, 1-2. Had a pitch to waste there. She was ahead in the count, 0-2. Again, final home games of the season for Post. They close things out on Wednesday on the road against Bentley, looking to end things on a high note here at Lemoy Field. Last year, in their final games of the year, they finished 7-39, but Post had their final 2 games of the season here at home and were able to beat Dominican on a walk-off single. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was by Bailey Dickinson as well in that one, to send Post to the mercy rule in game number 2 of that one. So the Eagles looking to end things on a high note on the home half of the schedule and then close things out with some winning ways against Bentley. The Eagles coming to the day at 4-34. You know, you don't like to talk about the negative history or anything of that sort, but unfortunately it is a part of the game as well, as that pitch is off the plate for a strike. If they're unable to secure at least 3 wins in their final 4 games, they will finish with the worst record in program history, which was last year's team at 7-39. But like I mentioned, you don't want to talk about that too much, but it is a part of what you'll see in the record books. That one's lined through a hole, base hit. Searles picks it up. And getting on base is Reagan Wynn with her first hit of the day, and that'll bring up Ragland. Brooklyn Ragland, 1 for 2 on the day with a single. 3, 4, and 5 hitters each with hits so far. DeMeo is a perfect 2 for 2 for the Lions, who with 1 out are threatening with 2 on in the middle of their lineup at the plate. This one's going to be popped up, though, on the infield. I believe that'll be ruled an infield fly rule. It is. Brooke Dickinson makes the grab at short, and there are 2 away. So both of the outs retired so far this inning for Post have been on the first pitch of the at-bat. And as a result, it will be Juliana Kellogg coming to the plate in hopes of not squandering this opportunity for the Lions, who have had opportunities in every inning. As that one's lined on the ground, it's going to be a base hit. She makes the most of it, but they're not going to be able to send more from third, as that was hit to left field against 2 Searles. Searles was charging in on it. So instead, the bases will be loaded, and we'll await the catcher in LaPlaca to undo her shin guards, as she's getting a little help out over there. It looks like by Regalado. No, apologies. That's not Regalado. That is Curo helping out. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Doing it like we did before in the second inning. Hughes looking to get out of this jam. First pitch is chopped on the ground, and it looks like she will. Sapia steps on third, side retired. All 3 outs come on the first pitch of the at-bat. Alyssa Hughes escapes trouble. We head to the bottom of the 5th. Post still in search of their first hit. They trail 1-0. Blazko back on the mound. So far, 4 innings, 61 pitches, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. She struck out the lower third of the ice. She actually struck out the lower third and 2 of the 3 in the top third of the lineup so far on the day. Eagles have left just 1 runner on base. Alyssa Hughes at 92 pitches through 5 innings. but has only given up that 1 run on those 2 extra base hits. But the Eagles are going to need some offense here in the bottom of the 5th, and they'll look to get it from Angelica Tompkins, the leadoff hitter, who nearly got hit on that first pitch. Tompkins 0-1, one of those 6 victims of going down by the way of the K in her first AB. She takes that first pitch outside for a ball, 1-0, and then takes that one down the center of the dish, 1-1. Tompkins, Biseglia, and Brooke Dickinson coming to the plate here in the 5th, and if they can advance past that, Searles or Oliver. Tompkins pops that one up on the infield and see who grabs it. It looks like it's going to be the shortstop in Jackson for out number 1. So Tompkins retired on the P6, and that'll bring first baseman Alexandra Biseglia. Eagles have been no-hit earlier in the year down in Florida. Excuse me, not down in Florida. I'm thinking of the year before, as that one's high for a ball. They were no-hit at home to start the year against Southern Connecticut. That one's down low for a ball, 2-0. So Biseglia, it's a hitter's count right now if you're her. Don't need to swing at anything that's not close as she works the count to 2-0. And that one's going to be over the plate for a strike, 2-1. So far in the game, Lions have scattered 7 hits, but just 1 run to show. 9 runners left on base through the first 5 innings. So it's not like they haven't had their opportunities. They have. And Biseglia has an opportunity to get on as the potential tying run. Well, she is the tying run even if she's at the plate right now. We see a pitcher getting loose as well in the bullpen. I believe that's, looks like number 26. It's facing me, and I want to make sure I get her name right. We do have a pronunciation guide for some of the girls on the Georgian court team, so please excuse me for a moment as I grab that. That's Lillian Noyes. Lillian Noyes in the bullpen. Might be warming up for game 2. We do see that sometimes. As that pitch is high for a, oh, nope, strike 3. Thought that was a ball high. And that's the 7th strikeout of the day for Blazka as Biseglia is rung up looking 2 away for Brooke Dickinson, who, like I mentioned, 9 RBIs since the Bloomfield College doubleheader, in which she had a 3 RBI game. Dickinson was mentioning before the game as well that she pulled a muscle in her leg earlier in the week, and so she's playing through that through her final few collegiate games. Started out at Central Connecticut State University and then joined her sister Bailey Dickinson later on. And later on this, well, and actually in the next couple of weeks, be on the lookout. We did a spotlight on both of the sisters. That will be premiering on our YouTube channel after the semester ends. A number of student athlete spotlights will be coming out over the summer to get you through the long 4 or 5 months without post-athletics before we return at the end of August, when football will kick off at home against West Virginia Wesleyan for the 2nd straight year. All the schedules are not up on the website just by virtue of looking at other schedules, as we're still in the midst of getting our fall schedule put together here at Post. But that's the first event to look forward to in the fall. Post Athletics, as we wind down, it feels like just yesterday we were starting things off with football. We wind down the 2024-25 athletic year at Post University, which has been full of ups and downs for all the athletics around the university, as Dickinson strikes out swinging, side retired. So the Eagles go down 1-2-3 again, still in search of that first hit. We head to the top of the 6th, 1-0 Lions here in game number 1. As we head to the top of the sixth, Alyssa Hughes, 92 pitches, 53 for strikes, but it's just a 1-0 game. Hughes having one of her best starts of the season so far. And we'll see if she continues it here in the sixth as LaPlaca comes to the plate, and she is 0 for 2 on the afternoon. First pitch in there for a ball. 1-0. Last inning, Regalado at the plate. That's right, because LaPlaca has a walk, so she's 0 for 2. I was looking based on that. Regalado at the plate. She's ahead in the count 2-0. Hughes ran into a couple of bases-loaded jams with 2 outs and has been able to get out of both of them. But in last half inning, all 3 of the batters she retired were on the first pitch. 2-0 count. Pitch is outside for a ball, 3-0. You don't want to walk the leadoff hitter if you're Hughes, and if you continue down this lineup, especially with DeMeo coming on deck, she is 2 for 2 with a RBI triple. She's got the lone run of the game as Regalado offers and then pulls back, and that's in there for a strike, 3-1. So Hughes will look to battle back in this count. And foul ball. It's the parking lot, 3-2. And I like to note this sometimes when I'm doing these games. This is my first time doing one of these this year. I've had to do a couple down the stretch. If you're ever coming to a game at Lemoyne Field to watch post softball, do not park within the first 4 or 5 rows of cars, as that one is popped up on the infield. Tompkins under it, makes the grab, 1 away for DeMeo. So nice job by Hughes to battle back in the count and retire the first batter of the inning. DeMeo, who's 2 for 2, will come to the plate. You don't want to park in the first couple of rows, though, here at Lemoyne. In fact, some are blocked off for the sole reason of they don't want you to park there. Because a lot of foul balls will go out of play, even up on the hill behind, which you can see when we go to our secondary cameras. It's staff members who park up there, but really, any of those cars in that area are in harm's way, as there are a few cars that are parked a little bit closer than they probably want to be right now. They are in the territory where we've seen some windshields get shattered, actually, so far this year, as the count's quickly 2-0. The class is winding down, everything kind of winding down, like I mentioned in the last half inning here at Post University for the athletic year. But still plenty of action to follow with baseball and men's lacrosse looking more than likely to get into the tournament. I would have to double check. I do not believe baseball is officially clinched as Hughes falls behind for the second straight batter, 3-0. Don't know if baseball's officially clinched a spot, but they're on the verge. They play 36 conference games throughout the year. That ball's in there for a strike, so Hughes will again, for the second straight batter, look to battle back from a 3-0 count, like she did in the last at-bat with Regalado. Was able to battle back from 3-0, get a strike over the plate in a foul ball to get to 3-2 before retiring her for the out. And she's going to get that one on the ground. That one's going to stay fair. Braseglia fires over to first, and Tompkins didn't have her foot on the bag. I think she was trying to stay out of the base pass. So DeMeo now 3 for 3 with 2 singles and a triple. And that'll bring the top of the lineup, which Kaylin Curo will come up. 0 for 3. She's left 4 runners on base. Again, she was up with the bases loaded in the second before Hughes retired her. She can make up for it here. We'll see. First pitch is outside for a ball, 1-0. So Hughes has fallen behind all 3 hitters in this half inning so far, and as a result, has allowed 1 runner to get on, although that was via the weak ground ball on the infield. Tompkins did a good job of rotating over on that one as the count goes to 2-0. Hughes over 100 pitches now, as you would have guessed, as she came into the inning at 94. Or, excuse me, 92. She's at 103 now coming into this AB. This will be pitch 106. It doesn't look like everybody's going to come in for her. That was lined. Oliver were in the right spot at the right time. Grabs it for out number 2. So the 106 pitch, lucky one for her, as Curo now, the leading hitter on this team, who was hitting over 400 coming into the day, now 0 for 4. this top of the Lions lineup, who are their 3 best hitters, like I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, have only 1 hit combined in their 8 at-bats and a walk. Pitches outside for a ball to Cheyenne Jackson as Hughes falls again behind the hitter for the 4th straight at-bat of the inning. Pitches in there for a strike. First 1-1 count of the inning as she fell behind all 3 of the first 3 batters. She fell behind 2-0. First 2 batters, 3-0. Now she's battling with a 1-1 count here. That one's hit in the air to center field. It's shallow. Oliver comes on to grab it, and the side is retired. So another single by Leah DeMeo. Doesn't cash in anything this time for Georgian Court. Eagles, though, need to get some hits, and they're running out of outs to do it with, as Blasko will come back out. She's working with a no-hitter into the bottom of the 6th inning. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in moments. Bottom of the 6th. Welcome back. Mike Vesey joining you for today's doubleheader. Hannah Searles, Isabella Oliver, and Alyssa Calabrese coming to the plate in search of the first hit of the day still. As Janelle Blaska is working with a no-hitter. There's just 1 walk allowed so far in the game. Pitch is in there for a strike, 0-1. Searles 0 for 1 with the strikeout so far. Is going to pop this one up in the infield, and grabbing that one is Kuro for the first out. So quick at bat there for Searles. As Blaska now 5 outs away from the no-hitter, and Isabella Oliver now will look to see if she can break that up. She's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. So far, Blaska on the day, 8 strikeouts and 1 walk. Eagles have left just 1 runner on base because it's the only runner to reach base. And Sapia's walk in the first inning with 2 outs. Since then, Blaska has been perfect, and she comes into this AB with only 78 pitches, 46 for strikeouts. In fact, all of her putouts that have not been via strikeout have been flyouts. All 8 putouts have been flyouts. Blaska deals low for a ball. With runners on, hitters are 0 for 1 on the day against Blaska. For Georgian Court, hitters are 4 for 16 against Hughes. With 2 outs, they're 4 for 10. So all those hits have come with 2 outs for the most part, including the lone run of the day. It came with a 2-out triple by DeMeo. That one's popped up. It'll be another fly out for the Eagles as that one on the infield. Whoa. For a moment there, it didn't look like anybody was going to be there to get it. And Cheyenne Jackson basket catches it for the 2nd out. And top of the lineup will come to the plate in Alyssa Calabrese, who's 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Post has 4 outs to work with, and this will also end their streak of being run ruled as well. No matter what happens in the top of the 7th, they will play the bottom of the 7th. That one's in there for a strike, 0-1. 10 runners left on base for the Lions. The offense has been hitting the ball well so far with 8 hits. DeMeo with 3 of those. They just have not been able to get that hit that takes him over, other than that one DeMeo triple, to expand on this 1-0 lead. They had the bases loaded twice with 2 outs, and Hughes was able to get out of it. Pitch is outside for a ball, 1-1. 4 extra base hits on the day for, 3 extra base hits on the day for the Lions out of their 8, as that pitch is high for a ball and the count moves to 3-1. So Calabrese now in the driver's seat to potentially be the first base runner since the first inning for Post University. And it would be the second one to get on with 2 outs, as that pitch is over the plate and Calabrese fouls it off into the parking lot, and we move to a full count here in the bottom of the 6th as Blazka looks to head into the 7th with a no-hitter. Blazka deals, and that one swung on and fouled back, and will do it all again with a 3-2 count. It's been a very clean game for both teams so far, to no errors. You had the one little bobble by Oliver in the outfield, but it wasn't ruled an error because of the fact that it was, first of all, a frozen rope on the ground, but also she was running over to get it. Calabrese over to short, and Jackson will fire over to first side, retired. 1-2-3 again. We head to the 7th. Blazka is 3 outs away from a no-hitter. Alyssa Hughes will look to see if she can keep the Lions bats in check and give Post a chance in the bottom of the 7th when we return. Ella Moore to the dish. She's 1 for 2 on the day with a walk. That one hit is a double for her. Post trailing just 1-0 on a RBI triple by DeMeo, Leah DeMeo, with that hit all the way back in the 4th. We've been moving right along here in game number 1. First pitch was outside for a ball as Hughes continues to get behind hitters, but she gets that ground out to second. Tompkins fires over to first, 1 away. So a quick at-bat there, and Hughes will take every quick at-bat as she can get. She is at 111 pitches now. 15 of those have been flyouts, 4 groundouts. But she has been spectacular, one of her best starts of the season, minus the Bloomfield one, which she obviously had a shutout, her first collegiate shutout. But she has been stellar today on the mound for Post. Again, scattering those 8 hits across the 6 innings so far. And she's 2 outs away from getting the job done here and pitching another complete game. That one's in there for a strike. And then Blazka will be 3 outs away. She'll face the heart of the order Hines, Sapia, and Bailey Dickinson. Looking for a no-hitter. She allowed that one walk in the first inning, and since then she has been perfect. Two-one count. 1 out here. With the cleanup hitter Reagan Wynn at the plate. She pops that one up on the infield. Dickinson, Brooke Dickinson, ranging back at short. And she retires the cleanup hitter, which will bring up Brooklyn Ragland with 2 outs. And Alyssa Hughes looking to finish off a spectacular start. We're currently working to see if we can we have the Georgian court record book pulled up to see when the last time they threw a no-hitter was, and doesn't seem like it's listed in their record book. He was behind in the count 1-0. She's fallen behind hitters in the last few innings. However, she's been able to come back and retire them. And it's now a 1-1 count to her. The top of the lineup, like I mentioned numerous times now, as long as obviously the Lions don't hit around here with 2 outs, just 1 hit on the day. And all 3 of those hitters were... Wow, Brooke Dickinson almost made another great play there on a line drive. That should go down as a hit. It'll be Ragland's second of the day. And Juliana Kellogg will come to the plate with a runner on and 2 outs. That one's line foul, and as we're looking, it looks like Blazka did throw a no-hitter actually a couple of years ago against Bloomfield in game number 2 of that doubleheader in a 9-0 5-inning victory. So this would be a 7-inning no-hitter. She threw that during her freshman season. Blazka's no-hitter was the first since the 2022 season opener that Michaela Gilgert had. It was a 7-inning no-hitter. So this would be the first 7-inning no-hitter for the Lions if she retires them. And it would be the first since 2022 when Michaela Gilgert did so in Florida. Blazka, though, has 1 no-hitter in her career back during the 2023 season. However, it was a shortened 5-inning game because of the mercy rule. So Blazka will look for her first complete game no-hitter in the bottom of the 7th. The junior from Beechwood, New Jersey. As Hughes now with a 1-2 count, looking to keep this game at 1-0 in hopes of the Eagles being able to push a run across in the bottom of the 7th. And just doing a little bit of confirmation on making sure my numbers are correct in terms of what I'm saying about the history. I like to make sure we get that sort of stuff right. That one's on the ground to Sapia at third. She fires over to first. 5-3, the putout goes, and we head to the bottom of the 7th. Janelle Blazka looking for her second no-hitter of her career, her first 7-inning one. It'll be Hines, Sapia, and Bailey Dickinson coming to the plate when we return. Don't go anywhere for the bottom of the 7th. Janelle Blazka, 3 outs away from her first 7-inning no-hitter. And it starts with Brianna Hines, who is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Blazka, so far, 8 strikeouts on the day. Hines is one of those victims. The only Eagle with 2 strikeouts is Brooke Dickinson. That one's hit in the air. Ranging in from center field to grab it is DeMayo for the first out. Now, Nyla Sapia, the only Eagle to reach base today. Like I mentioned, she 2-out walk is the only one that she has, is the only runner that Blazka has allowed to reach base. Sapia takes that one off the plate. That no-hitter for Gilgert coming way back at the start of the 2022 season. She pitched 7 innings against Bridgeport on February 26, 2022. 7 strikeouts and 3 walks in what was a 3-0 win for Georgian Court. And then Blazka, obviously, like we mentioned, the 5-inning no-hitter back in 2023 against Bloomfield. Just over 2 years ago on April 3rd. Blazka deals, swung on and missed. That'll be 2 strikes on Sapia. With Bailey Dickinson waiting on deck, who nearly had a hit. As that one's going to be lifted in the air, and coming in from center field to grab it is DeMayo. And Blazka is just 1 out away now from her first 7-inning no-hitter of her career and the 2nd overall for her career. But she'll have to get through the cleanup hitter and designated player, Bailey Dickinson, who is 0 for 2 on the day. Like I just mentioned, she had that pop out to second base that went in and out of the glove of Curo, and then she was able to catch it on the fly. Not sure how that one would have been ruled, but it was an out, so nonetheless. Dickinson behind the count, 0-1. And now quickly behind 0-2. Pitch number 100 coming for Blazka as she looks to nail down her 2nd career no-hitter. Dickinson ready, Blazka ready. She fires home. And that one's off the plate for a ball. We'll do it again. Pitch 101. Looking to be the magic one for Blazka. 1-0 Georgian Court on the RBI triple by DeMayo. It's the only run of the game so far. Blazka set and fires, swung in the air. Dickinson lifts it into left field, ranging in to grab it is Moore, and that'll do it. Janelle Blazka has her 2nd career no-hitter, her first 7-inning no-hitter, the first for Georgian Court in 7 innings since Michaela Gilgert in 2022 on her 101st pitch. The Eagles fall 1-0 in game number 1. The lone run coming from Leah DeMayo on her RBI triple in the 4th. 1 run, 9 hits, no errors for the Lions. 0-0-0 for Post. Janelle Blazka, what a day for her in game number 1. 7 innings pitched, 101 pitches, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. It was a 2-out walk to Nyla Sapia in the 1st inning. And then from there on out, she dominated. Like I mentioned, 2nd career no-hitter, the first 7-inning one, and the first 7-inning no-hitter since 2022 when Michaela Gilgert did it. Congratulations to her and the Lions on the 1-0 victory. But we have another game coming for you. Don't go anywhere. 30 minutes from now, game number 2 between the Lions and Eagles right here on the CACC Network and YouTube. For now, though, Mike Fesci signing off from Lemoy Field.